Hi, Susan. Thank you very much for joining me today on the Dementia Dialogues. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Natalie. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, thank you. A little bit nervous, you said before, but please don't be nervous.
Yes,
It's
good.
absolutely fine. It's just me and you having a chat,
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
So, just for the benefit of the listeners, can you introduce yourself, a little bit of background, and your touch point with dementia?
Yes, I'm Susan Seddon, live in Hapton with my husband, Peter. We've got four children between us. Grandchild number 11 due in July.
Wow.
Oh, I know. I love it. I love having a big family. I was an only child. Mum and dad were married 18 years before I came along. So not only did I not have any siblings, all my cousins were sort of 30 by the time I was born. So it was always me, my mum and dad, and both mum and dad had dementia. I sort of nursed both of them through it. Mum first, and mum went quite quickly with dementia. Dad sort of took a lot longer, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. So you must have had a really good relationship with them then, being an
I did,
only child.
yeah.
And yeah,
It was, yeah, it was. I was the whole world. I know that. My dad told me every day till the day he died, I think. But, yeah. And I think, as we're speaking, I think that's why I took on the caring role completely because there was nobody else.
yeah. Yeah. Nobody else to lean on, I suppose. If you've got, I mean, not saying that all families that do have brothers and sisters can lean on their siblings, because some unfortunately can't,
No, no.
but a lot can. And
Yeah,
as an only child, there's just you, isn't there? I
yeah,
know the people in a similar situation, and I would be in that situation as well. I'm an only child, so I appreciate where you're coming from with that.
yeah.
So what's your background as in career wise? Are you still working, or what did you do if you don't
No,
anymore?
I worked as an expediter. I've always done office work. I worked as an expediter down at Baxi in Padiham. So we lived at Hapton, worked in Padiham. Mum and dad lived a 5-minute car journey from us. So I would go and see them even before they became ill. I would go and see them every night after work. And then before I went to bed, I would phone mum up and just go through what we'd like watched on television and things. So I was really close to them. Dad had a stroke, which did complicate things, sort of in his late 70s, but he got his movement and everything back. But how they explained it was if you sort of see a cow in a field, your brain goes through all sorts of different patterns and it says it's an animal, and then the last little bit says it's a cow. And it was that little bit that was damaged with my dad. So he
Right.
couldn't get past the animal, he couldn't get the name. He could say it was a horse if it was a cow, or a cow if it was a donkey, but it couldn't get the right names, if you will.
Yeah.
But mum was always really sharp. She was the one that, she would sort my dad's pills out and do everything, whereas my dad was still quite strong, so he managed the cleaning and everything in the house. And I think the first time I realised with my mum was a very strong woman and she had rheumatoid arthritis from an early age. And we went to an appointment and it was different. It wasn't her consultant, it was a different consultant. And we went in and we sat down, and the first thing he said was, "Right, Mrs. Ashbridge, when did you stop drinking?" And I thought, "Oh, my mum's going to tear a strip off him here." But anything, and I looked at her, and she just looked so confused, and she started to try and say like, "Well, I like a sherry at Christmas, because she didn't drink, my mum." So I just excused us both. I said, "We're going to go and sit outside, and then when you've looked at my mum's records, we'll come back in and we'll talk about it." Now, what he'd done, he'd opened the file, and my mum had cirrhosis of the liver through rheumatoid arthritis, but he hadn't read any further. He'd just made the assumption my mum used to drink. So we finished the consultation, went back home, and I said to Peter, "I'm going to have to get more involved now because my mum is forgetting things as well as my dad, so that they can't sort things out together, if you will."
Mm.
Mum went Mum sort of gave up, if you will. I think Mum understood that she was ill, but gave up on life, if you will. Um, it's difficult. She started falling as well, and I think that's when we took her to the doctors, and the doctor just diagnosed, it's old age dementia, and that was it. There were no, like me and Peter said when we came out, if you're diagnosed with cancer or something like that, you come away with loads of booklets and there's all these people to contact. But it was a case of your mum's old, she's got dementia, off you go type of thing.
Was
And
that like an assumption from the doctor then that that's just what happens with old age? Is that
yeah,
how it came across?
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so. And it was, when you question anything, when you say anything, they look at you like, but she's old, she's got dementia. Sort of like everybody gets dementia. And I know it's so widespread now, but in younger people as well now. So I am quite grateful that my mum was older, if you will, when she got it. So we battled on for a while. But my dad would like phone up in the middle of the night. I've tried to take your mum to the toilet. She's on the floor now. So we were getting up, going on, sorting mum out, coming back, getting up, going to work. And then quite a few things happened at once. Mum got a lot worse. Peter had to have an operation on his back that didn't go right. So he got redundancy from work and was told, you'll never work again. And we have two children. The youngest one is down in Somerset because he's in the Navy. Zoe is the one that lives up here, but Zoe developed epilepsy as well. So I was caring for my mum, trying to look after Zoe's house and the kids, looking after Peter, and I thought something has to give here. I did cut my hours down at work, and I went eventually from like 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock, so I could get mum up, go to work, come home, make a tea, put her to bed. We did try carers, which didn't go down well. A few of them were really nice. Some weren't as nice, but they don't have the time. They come in, they're 5 minutes, they've tried to do everything, and then they go. And both mum and dad were really confused. Who are these people? And they wouldn't turn up on time. No fault of theirs.
Yeah.
But my dad, like 5 minutes after they were due, he'd be on the phone saying, they're not here. Mum's still in an ITA. And they're very, with dementia and things like that, everything is like on time, if you will. Everything has to be done when you say it's going to be done. Excuse me. But
yeah, I know from speaking to somebody that works within the home care sector, the advice that she was giving was to, one, wherever possible, try and get that care in place as soon as possible rather than later stages of dementia, so that they can build that relationship. Like you say, it's that strangers are coming into my home, and it's difficult. As we know, a lot of the time, it's difficult for people with dementia to recognise people that they should recognise anyway, like family members and such. Never mind new people, professionals and carers coming in. So trying to build that relationship initially, and we've got to empathise with the carers as well, aren't we? Like you've just said, it's no fault of their own. They are on a tight time schedule. There's no greater allowance, I don't think, for travel time between the clients that they have.
No, there isn't. And they don't have time to form a relationship with the person. It's quick in and out. And like I said, it's not always the same carer that comes. So you're getting different people all the time. Yeah. So I was off work. I went off work for a while, but work kept phoning me up, when are you coming back? So at the end, I just said, me and Peter sat down together and said, I can't do this anymore. With Peter's money, luckily, had paid the house off. So it was, right, I'm leaving work and I'm going to sort mum out at that stage. Mum, the dementia for mum affected her motor skills. So she forgot how to walk, forgot how to use a knife and fork, things like that. So it became 24-hour care. So eventually, we luckily have quite a big house. We had a downstairs bedroom, so we moved mum in with us. And like dad, they had their own bungalow, so dad stayed where he was, and mum came to live with us. But I was doing everything for her, and I had like a child monitor at the side of me. So during the night, I'd be up, I'd be taking my mum to the bathroom. She had accidents, just sorting her out, everything. Then
Did
she
that cause any more confusion with her moving in with you and being like, just going back to what you said at the beginning about them being married for 18 years before they had you? So they've been together a heck of a long time there.
yeah, they'd been.
Did you notice any more confusion with sort of being in a different environment and not being with your dad at that point then?
No, she didn't sort of seem to take in what was around her, my mum. And luckily, and I've said this for both mum and dad, neither of them ever forgot me. They always knew me. I was always the daughter, always Susan. Now, mum, during the night would shout for my dad, when she wanted to go to the toilet and things like this. So she would shout for my dad, but she didn't seem to be that confused when I went in. It must have just been, well, it's Susan, so I'm all right.
And I suppose sometimes when you wake up during the night, if you're in a different place, I know if I stay in a hotel and I need to get up during the night to go to the toilet myself, it's that you're a bit
Yeah,
disorientated
you
for a
are.
split second.
Yeah,
So there's that understanding of, well, yes, you probably would shout for your dad. That split second thinking,
yeah. I
that's
just,
who I shout for. And
yeah,
then, yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
yeah.
Mm.
So mum wasn't with us maybe 3-4 months, but just deteriorated really quickly. And sadly passed away in hospital. I couldn't wake her up one morning, so I had to phone the doctor. He came out, just phoned an ambulance, and she was taken to hospital. And she passed away. And on her death certificate, it just says old age and dementia. I just think that's very sad. She was 85, so yeah, she was getting on, but yeah, it was sad, and it was hard at first with my mum because there's a balance, isn't there, between you and your parents, and when you have to cross that line and start being a parent to your parents, it's very difficult. You're getting involved in things in their life that you've never really been involved in. We did get a power of attorney, which I would recommend for anybody. It was obviously easy in my case because being an only child, there was nobody else to get involved, so that was relatively straightforward. But it was still a nightmare after mum passed with the bank accounts, even though dad's name was on them as well. So I would definitely recommend a power of attorney to anybody.
Yeah, and I think it's about doing that early, isn't it? And not thinking by arranging a power of attorney that you are writing yourself off.
Yeah, yeah,
It's actually just making the best for everybody in the long run,
yeah,
isn't it? If anything should happen,
yeah. And
anything at
it
all.
is difficult as a child, no matter how old you are, to bring up things monetary with your parents and discuss things like that. It's not something that you ever do, is it?
No.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was mum. Dad stayed on his own for a while, for a few months, but then I think he was lonely. They'd been together 60 years, so Dad said, "Can I come and live with you?" Now, at that stage, we had offered, and he said no right at the beginning, but at that stage, he was quite healthy, bodily wise, if you will. But again, me and Peter, and it has been a big decision, not as much for me because they're my parents, but for Peter to put his or our life on hold for my dad to come and live with us as well. So we sold dad's house and adapted ours. And what we did was we had a conservatory, so we redid that as like my dad's living room at home. So we brought all his furniture, we had the same carpet put down, and then brought dad. So he was quite comfortable there. He had everything round him.
So that was familiar
Yeah,
because you just sort of transported it from the bungalow to
yeah,
yours, didn't you?
yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what we did because it's hard to get used to change. It's hard to get used to change when you're getting older anyway, but when you've got dementia as well, it's a double whammy really, isn't it?
And got to say, your relationship with Peter must be so strong for him to be so supportive and understanding.
It
Because
is.
it must have been really difficult for him, and no doubt, I'm sure, unless you're both superheroes, and I know you've got a superhero background, so it might be, but it must have put a strain on your relationship over the years. having to care for 24/7 for both your parents.
Yeah, Peter's amazing. That's all I can say. There was never a question of, well, should we be doing this, or maybe look at this for your dad. It was a case of no. Peter would have done it for his parents had he been in that situation. Sadly, that they weren't alive when we met, and he got on great with my dad, and he understood. We talked about it as a family. I think it helped as well that we couldn't do. Our dream was always to buy a place abroad and spend a lot of time out there, spend time here. But with Zoe being poorly, when she was diagnosed with epilepsy and her having 2 children, we couldn't really go anywhere anyway because we were looking after them as well as my dad. So,
you had your hands full, didn't
we
you?
did, yeah, we did. And we do look back now and think, how did we, like, when I'd gone through all these things, when I was, like, writing it all down, what we'd done, I'm thinking, how did I do it? How did I do it? Like 24-hour care. My dad, not as much because there was no falling. But even when he got up during the night on his own, if he didn't need me, I still had the baby monitor on and I could still hear him and see him. So I was up watching to make sure that he didn't do anything to hurt himself.
And I think there's that motherly instinct in a lot of people that you don't sleep properly. Once you've had kids of your own anyway,
Yeah.
you don't sleep. You're a lighter sleeper than you ever were.
Yeah.
I know if any of mine walk into my bedroom, there's only one of us waking up.
Yeah.
And it's not normally Anthony,
No.
to be fair.
No.
So then it's the same then, isn't it? Then when you've got your parents, I suppose, like you say, you're then the parent again, and it's probably the same. As much as your dad was probably sound asleep, and you might have been sort of resting, you wouldn't have been in a deep sleep because you're sort of anticipating it.
Yeah, you are.
So you've missed out on a lot of rest there. Was there any respite for you at all? Any support or anything?
We had, so our friends Carol and Ian around the corner would step in for me and Peter to go away, like if we wanted to go away for a week. It was a military operation to do that. Zoe would move into our house so Carol could look after Zoe, my dad, everybody together. But I never, even that on holiday, I had the phone, I had the camera on me. So I was constantly checking on my dad. There was, as much as we were away and I was resting, it was constant, like, it's 11 o'clock and Dad's not moved yet. And I'd be texting Zoe, going to your granddad, can you just make sure he's all right? So there wasn't a lot of downtime. In fact, we were talking about it last night. I'm 60 this year. We said for Peter's 50th, we were going to go with all that planned, but Mum was poorly, so we had to cancel it. And for his 60th, we were doing a cruise, but Dad was poorly, so we had to cancel that. So, yeah, it has been a full-time job. I don't feel it is a job. I felt that it was my responsibility, my mum and dad, nobody else's. But certainly, I couldn't have done it without Peter. There aren't a lot of people that would have done what Peter's done, to be honest.
Yeah. Wasn't moving into a care home ever an option? Was it ever a thought or up for discussion as a family?
No, it was never on the table. It was the case of, and I think because I was older, and like Peter said, right from the very, very beginning, I've always said to him, my mum and dad are old. One day we might need to look after them, so they will come to our house. Obviously, the discussion with Peter, but even Peter said there's never been put them in a care home.
And mum and dad didn't even suggest that,
No.
I know it comes up sometimes that people, and I think you've mentioned it before, between us, that they would often think that they were a burden on you.
Yeah, they would. Both of them would continually say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry I'm here, I'm sorry I'm doing this. We just used to say, it's fine, you're not a burden, you're not. Dad lived with us for nearly 13 years, so it was obviously a lot longer than Mum. And as Dad's dementia got worse, he never forgot me, but forgot things. His long-term memory was there. He would say, Dad started down the pit at 13, and the stories that he told everybody were amazing. And he would sit and watch every war film and every documentary on the World War II that there were, but he couldn't remember what had happened the day before. And every day was how do I use this remote control? How do I do that? And it was every single day. You got into the pattern. You knew what question was coming.
Yeah.
And that is draining. And there have been times when I've said, Dad, I've just told you. And then you see his face and you're just like, no, I'm sorry. Come on, I'll show you again, you know.
But you've got to give yourself a bit of a break there, haven't you? And there'll be people listening that are probably thinking exactly the same. Yeah, I do that. I lose my rag when I've said the same thing for the 50th time. But you've got to just, you know, think you've got a family yourself. You're caring for your daughter and her children as well because she's not well. Your husband who's recovering. You're trying to work full time. You've lost your mum. You've got a lot going on. You need to give yourself a break and allow yourself that. Don't beat yourself up for that one comment. You've reflected on it and gone, do you know what? Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. But you know why.
Yeah.
And you can't, sometimes you just can't help it. That's just unfortunately, it's just a natural reaction, isn't it? You know?
And luckily, and Peter, because I did used to beat myself up, and Peter used to say, the thing is, Susan, your dad won't remember that you've said that. So
there's the blessing.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even like with dad's self-care, I did it all with mum, obviously, but Peter did it with my dad because I know that dad would have been embarrassed if I was the one that was helping to wash him and things. So,
so it was good that they had such a good relationship that Peter felt comfortable with that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sounds like, as much as you're an only child, it sounds like you've got a good support network with friends and with Peter and with Zoe as well, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Dad loved children, so our house was ideal because we've always had the grandchildren before they've gone on to school, so the house was always full of children. And Dad loved it, and I think that kept my dad going. You know, I mean, I have been to care homes with friends and visited their parents, and I take as I say, my auntie, she's my cousin now, but she's 90 this year, and I take her to see her friend in a care home, and there is. And no disrespect to the care home, there's no atmosphere, there's nothing going on, there's no stimulation for them, you know, and I just think I couldn't just see my dad sat in front of a window every day.
Yeah, I think a lot, it depends on the care home, and let's not tar them all with the same brush.
No.
It's, that's the thing for me is that one thing that elderly people in general, not just those with dementia, need that connection.
Yeah.
So going in and visiting with all the family, you know, and the activities, as much as you might have gone in with your auntie and visited and there was nothing going on, that's not to say that nothing hasn't gone on, but it could be quite structured. We do an activity at 11, we do an activity. And I understand that and appreciate that as well. But what we've talked about on some other episodes, like with Tun, who's done the documentary and visited other countries and to see how they're coping with people with dementia, it's about those activities can be just normal day-to-day things like washing, helping with the cooking, helping set the table. Their activities, let them have a purpose.
Yeah.
It's not a grand, massive purpose to change the world. A purpose for the day could be going out and doing a bit of gardening because that's what they enjoy. That's an activity. That's person-centered activity. Yeah. And that's what it's lacking, I think.
I think it is. And I think that's the difference, obviously, with being able to do it at home. It's tailored to my dad. I knew my dad's routine. You know, I knew that he liked listening to music when he was eating his breakfast, so I'd put the radio on. I think when you've got a care home full of a lot of people with all different like routines, if you will, it's very hard to structure it to each person.
Yeah, it's so difficult, isn't it? Especially when they're bigger care homes as well, so they've got more people with different needs if it's not necessarily just for people with dementia. And like you say, that's the uniqueness and the benefit of having mum and dad at home. You know their ins and outs, what they enjoy. And I think the other limitation, thinking back to my nan being in the care home, is bearing in mind I would be early 30s at that point. I had a bit of a fear, or not necessarily a fear, but like I didn't have a right to put music on just for my nan,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
go, I'm going to take her out today. And really, I'm annoyed at myself that I didn't do that. But I'm just wondering if people feel the same, like that, like they've handed their loved one over to
Yeah.
somebody else.
It's
So
like,
now they're sort of further down the ranking of decision
yeah,
making for them,
you're
actually.
going to like their home.
Mm,
You don't know how that home runs necessarily, so you don't want to say, well, like my dad has his, 11s is at 11. Can he do?
yeah,
So I
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
that.
But there could be questions actually that people need to be asking when they're going into a care home. It's like, be confident that
Yeah,
that home is providing care for your loved one, and this is what we want that to look like. And
yeah,
if they can't do that, is that okay with you?
yeah,
Does that sit well with you? Because if not, look somewhere else, because there'll be smaller ones, more person-centered, cared ones that,
yeah,
that can do it, you know.
yeah,
So it's a very, very good point. And I can see why you have mum and dad at home.
yeah. And like I say, I know how lucky I was. I know that because my mum and dad had their own house, it's allowed me not to have to go out to work and look after them. And when my dad died, I was lost. I was like, I've lost my way in the world now. What do I do? I've nobody to look after. I know I've got Peter and the grandchildren, but he was my dad, and nobody knew him like I knew him. And
Mm.
24 hours a day was spent on making sure dad was all right.
Mm.
Uh,
But now it's your time, isn't it?
it is, yeah, it is.
Yeah. It's your time to get that cruise booked,
Yeah,
look after those 11 grandchildren, and keep up that closeness of the family unit that you've always had with your parents, and you've instilled in Scott and Zoe and Peter's children as well. Keep that going with the grandchildren as well,
yeah,
and show them how important it is, and what a high value that is for you personally. And
yeah.
it means a lot, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, and we are really close. And I know that's because I've wanted it like that. I've wanted them all here because I didn't have that growing up. I think it's
Mm,
been wonderful that we've had, because a few of the grandchildren came sort of within a few years of one another. So it's been great that they've all grown up with their cousins. I love it. And I
yeah,
think I missed out on that when I was younger. But
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I'm an only child, but probably on the flip of you, I have cousins that are similar age to me,
yeah,
and whether they like it or not, I class them more like siblings than cousins. They
yeah,
know, they're the ones at the other end of the phone if I've got a problem, and
yeah,
and I'm so lucky that I've got that closeness, because our age gap was close, and
yeah,
my children are friends with their children, and
yeah,
I love that. I love being around family. It's really, really important to me as well, and I want to try and instill that in my boys as well. But I
yeah,
think that is big, maybe because we were only children, maybe,
yeah,
but it
yeah.
works.
It does.
So, if you could change anything in regards to care for those living with dementia, what would it be?
That's a difficult question, isn't it? Dementia's so vast, and like I say, every need is different, isn't it?
Mm,
And the one thing I would say is the the person, like my mum and dad, whoever it is that you're looking after, nobody knows them as well as you do. So if you think there is something wrong and you're being told no, there isn't, stick to your guns, ask for a second opinion, go back. Because
yeah.
a 5 or 10 minute appointment at a doctor's for somebody that hasn't seen you before, they don't know how you've changed, how you're changing, because they don't know you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a funny one, that, because you can say, there's been some conversations previously where people haven't seen the usual doctor, or it's been a locum, and the locum's actually asked different questions
yeah,
and then put them on to go and have more testing. So it really does depend on who you see.
it does.
I
Yeah,
really, really think that
yeah,
it's
it
it's
does.
massive, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
Did you get any financial support then? Government financial support for being a full-time carer?
yeah, the £79 whatever it was a week for a care.
Wow.
So I think for like 24 hours a day, it works out at about 45 pence an hour. But that, I mean, my dad got attendance allowance. But again, because I think if you claim disability before you're retired, you get disability, but after you retire, you can't claim it, so it becomes attendance allowance. But
And
that
how easy did you find that to claim?
the attendance allowance, both of them quite easy, really.
Oh,
Whether
good.
that was because of the age of my mum and dad and the conditions.
Yeah.
And then once you are caring for somebody, I think you have to care for somebody like 35 hours a week to get the carer's allowance.
Yeah.
But right at the beginning, when I was working full time and doing everything that I was doing with mum and dad, I couldn't claim anything, because if you earn more than, like, say, £100 a week, you can't claim the carer's allowance. Even though you're doing it, you're doing that work, you're looking after them 35 hours a week.
Mm.
So yeah, that side of it is not good if you're having to care for somebody for 24 hours a day for I think it's £81.90 a week now.
That's not touching anything, is it?
No. And I know my friend just put her mum into a care home, and it's £1,400 a week she has to pay. And I think, no, there's something wrong there somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely is. So what was your favourite thing to do with them? Do you have a favourite memory or with mum and dad? Because you spent a lot of time with them, so you probably have a lot, to be
Yeah,
fair.
but they're all really good memories. My mum and dad were amazing. I mean, I fell out with my mum during the teenage years. Obviously, we clashed, but
Yeah.
then became best friends. But no, life was just amazing because everything centred around me. I know Peter does say that shows sometimes. But
I get that as well.
yeah,
Only child syndrome, and I'm
no,
proud of it. I'm
yeah.
owning it.
So yeah, and I mean, as they got older as well, we went away as a family. Like we'd hire a villa and we'd take mum and dad with us with the kids. So
Nice.
you know, it was great. It's been a great laugh with them, a great
I
upbringing.
bet they really enjoyed that as well, all the family being
Yeah,
together.
yeah, they did. Yeah, even
Yeah.
when dad became too old to go abroad, we'd just take him like to Blackpool for the weekend, and he loved it. He loved getting out and about, my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Good. So just to finish, if you could offer one piece of advice or support to anybody listening, what would that be?
I think the things that we've covered, definitely look into power of attorney. I know it's embarrassing to bring up, but that needs to be in place, even if they aren't showing any signs of anything. I think Martin Lewis goes on about it, talk about it, be open about that. Again, stick to your guns. If you know there is something wrong, push that. Go and see somebody else, talk to somebody else about it. That's the advice I could give. And don't, like you said, don't beat yourself up. If you say, for goodness sake, I've just told you that, don't beat yourself up about it. Everybody does it, don't they, like you say?
Yeah, you need to give yourself a break as well. When you're
Yeah.
under so much pressure and you're feeling a bit beaten, just take a breath.
Yeah.
Just take a breath.
Take a step back and yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time.
All
I
right.
really appreciate it. Thank you, Susan.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.